And welcome. This is a SharePoint Power Hour broadcasting live from SPTechCon. This is our really fun conference that we go to a couple of times a year. We're actually wrapping up towards the end of the week right now. It's been great. There have been a lot of awesome sessions. There's a lot of sort of change on the horizon, but a lot of the things we've been learning this week have been, pretty much, SharePoint 2013, Office 365 information. Probably the next SPTechCon will have a lot about 2016 because that's coming up soon. But anyway, I'm Laura Rogers. This is SharePoint Power Hour, and this is everyone on our team. We're in here in person. We still are missing a couple of people this time, but it's most of the team. SharePoint Power Hour is something that we've always done live every Wednesday at 11 Central. And real quick, just a little housekeeping note is there's a Q&A. If you're in YouTube watching this, you can click the link to the Google Hangout. And in the Google Hangout, there's a little icon at the top right that looks like some little squares, and it lets you flip over to other apps. And so the Q&A is one of the apps you can flip to. It's not the most obvious thing, but we would love to get you guys feedback and ask questions as we go. We have a little announcement to make at the beginning, though. So real quick, this is Tavis, Joelle, and Laura. This is Kevin, and this is Corey, and we have Jason holding the camera. We have Jeff in here too. But so our announcement is that a couple of weeks ago, Rackspace got us all in a room and said that our department, SharePoint Professional Services and SharePoint Training at Rackspace, is no longer going to exist, and they encourage us to find other jobs in the company or elsewhere. So our SharePoint Power Hours as we know it are not going to exist anymore. This is kind of a farewell because we're not going to be a team anymore. We're not going to work together anymore. It's kind of sad. Joelle's actually already found another job. I'm going to go off and be independent and do my own company, and everyone else is in the process of interviews, etc. So we wanted to let y'all know that this is our farewell, but let's go ahead and get everyone to do our intros like we always do, and you can do your intros with, keep in mind that, people might be watching who might need to hire you. Tavis, I'll let you go first.
Sure. My name is Tavis Lovell, and I am the ex-resident BI guy, I guess.
and you guys who are watching live, let us know how the sound is and if you can hear us okay, because we talk pretty loud because the microphone's far away.
So yeah, things like reporting services, Power Pivot, Performance Point, all those types of BI things that deal with reporting and dashboarding. I think that's all I have.
Yeah. I am Joelle Farley, and I obviously specialize in information architecture, taxonomy search, and all that fun stuff. I will be continuing to do that in my next role. I'll still be a consultant doing that kind of stuff, so I'll be looking forward to that. And I think the idea is that we may not be continuing Power Hour on this channel, but we probably will get a Power Hour going at some point. I know, Laura and I have talked about it. I don't know if any of these guys would be interested as well, but we'll probably try to do this still going forward, even just not under Rackspace.
Just not under Rackspace.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just do mine real quick. I'm Laura Rogers. I'm WonderLaura.com, WonderLaura on Twitter, and about 10 years of experience in SharePoint and collaboration and all the different versions of SharePoint, etc.
And I'm Kevin Hughes, formerly SharePoint architect at Rackspace. I was a SharePoint architect before, and I'll be a SharePoint architect after. So I'm here to solve your problems and help you grow.
You get shortened SharePoint architect. It almost sounded like shark. It's kind of cool.
Sharkitect.
What are you?
Well, my name is Corey Emmons.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
You're not winning points.
I do a lot of SharePoint out of the box stuff. I do workflows and Infopath and all sorts of things. Looking at maybe changing tax a little bit, getting into some Windows Server stuff, because why not? Jason's making faces at me. I have about 10 years of SharePoint experience. I'm on Twitter, and yeah, you can find me all over the place.
So are you looking at the Q&A panel just in case?
I am.
Make sure my screen doesn't time out too.
I'm trying.
Jason has there with us.
Use all three of your hands.
I don't see any questions yet, so.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay too.
Okay.
the theme today is going to be, we usually do a demo. So the whole point of SharePoint Power Hour is that we do a demo of something that's, not hardcore programming, not hardcore server admin, just all those other topics that fall just in SharePoint and Office 365. Jason's done a demo of Office 365 admin things, and we pulled in a couple of people that we know from the community, and we've just done about 111 or so Power Hours over, I think, a couple of years. I think it's been 3 years almost, it's been like 2.5 years. So there are a lot of them. It's been a good run. So the theme today is going to be embracing change, because we are all embracing change right now. Change has been thrust upon us. That's just what happens. But that can apply to SharePoint and Office 365, because if you're using Office 365, you've got change happening to you whether you like it or not. It's constantly changing. They're constantly adding and improving things and rearranging things when you're in there. Now, of course, there are different levels of how fast that happens to you, but change is about, and SharePoint 2016 is a big change that's going to be coming soon that we get a lot of questions about. So far, there isn't much of a difference when it comes to end users and power users, but who knows when it comes out finally. So the idea is that, we're having a panel to talk about kind of things that are coming up and a lot of common questions that we get asked, and just themes in general from the keynote and things that people have learned in sessions you've gone to this week, etc. Jason, you can ask us questions. Jeff's here. I don't know why you're not on the camera. You can ask questions too, or jump in. But have you guys been to any?
Here, Jeff.
Do you guys have any?
Wait, who's Jeff?
Scuba.
That would be scuba.
Hey guys.
We all call him Scuba Steve. There are 2 Scuba Steves at SPTechCon, which is the weirdest thing. But what is your role? Turn it around to him. What do you do?
So I'm a technical account manager for the Office 365 advisory services team. So basically
at Rackspace.
At Rackspace. So anything from migration planning to full-on custom training for customers. We help them get their product moved over from whatever that is, and then fully embrace the suite altogether.
And he's not leaving Rackspace.
I'm not leaving Rackspace.
So have you guys just in general gone to any sessions that you felt were interesting this week, or learned anything new, or just noticed any?
You and Joelle did a very interesting session this morning, and there's actually a power hour about it on management of data and doing content roll-ups and all sorts of stuff. And that was a fun class. It's a lot of content, but you managed to plow through it.
I think plow is exactly the right term for that.
And Office 365 crashed.
Yeah,
I don't even know how that is
I
possible.
haven't had a chance to figure out what happened, but my site just went
It was
down.
an error that we'd never seen.
Yeah, the
before.
server was down. And,
just
and
said-
I went right over to another site, so it wasn't the internet.
It said the server was down, and this was an Office.
Yeah.
Well, you
In
are
the
a
middle of a
power
demo.
user, so, you powered right through it. That's
That's true. But yeah, I actually, we just listened to a keynote about like the Microsoft kind of mobile vision, and that was really, really interesting just to see how they are trying to really make, your mobile devices seamless with the PC. So they have like that whole idea now, which I did not know about because I'm Android all the way. But I think it's pretty cool. It was interesting to see how they have the Windows Phone where you can actually, connect to a desktop, and then just the entire phone is available to you, and like all of your apps will open and they work on the desktop and they look really great, and then you unplug and take your phone with you.
It's called Continuum.
Continuum, that's what it is, yeah.
Basically, the premise is that you only need one device. And HP actually just announced a really cool Windows phone. It's called the Elite X3. It's like a 6-inch Windows phone, but they are aiming it toward the enterprise, like especially big enterprises. And the theory is it has a dock, and it also has like this. It's almost like a laptop shell, but the phone connects wirelessly to it, and the laptop shell is just a screen, a keyboard, and a battery. But it uses the phone's processor and everything else. So you can carry this around. It'll weigh like a pound, but all of your data is on your phone. So it just like it's a mini 6-inch laptop that then you can expand onto this bigger platform. But you only need to carry one device with you.
Isn't technology wonderful?
It can be if people adopt it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they were talking about during Joel was actually talking about during the keynote about, how Microsoft is really aware that a lot of their users, the people that use Microsoft products, are the ones that are actually mostly on Android. So they're starting to do these things, making apps and stuff like that work, really, really well with Android. Work not just with OneDrive, not just with OneDrive,
And
also with Box,
Yep.
also with Google Docs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, at this point, most of their apps that come out are actually coming out on Android and iOS first,
Yeah.
Before Windows Phone. But the experience, they're going for that experience. It's just the Microsoft experience, no matter what device you're on, whether it be a laptop, a Mac, a Android, iOS, or Windows Phone, just
Seamless.
the same experience, and just all of your stuff is there and available to you.
Well, previous to now, to this announcement, or what's in development now, that mobile to laptop to desktop and back and forth has already been in place if you had a Windows phone, and all connected through Link and SharePoint and the rest of the stack. But it was extremely complex to set up to get that seamless user experience. And what I took out of this week was finding out that they're actually making an effort to not only make it not only just Windows phones, but to make it much easier to create that user experience from the infrastructure and the design side, so that it really is. If it develops out like they plan, it will be something that you don't necessarily have to be, an Einstein, so to speak, in IT in order to make that happen for any specific company. You don't have to, throw $1 billion at it as, a major worldwide global company in order to get that for your people.
So no code development sort of Power Apps and things?
A lot of it I found was designed around point and click through the interface that, yes, okay, this is the kind of phone we've got, this is the devices we've got, this is the content we want to deliver and how. I mean, there's still going to be a need for people like us to customize the experience, if you want it more than what it does out of the box. But there's, to get that seamless device-to-device experience, seems like they're really focusing on making that something even a small business can do. So I liked that. On a different note, I found that we get a lot of questions about forms. And what I found out this week, and I'm sure the rest of them did too, but is that Microsoft is committed to continuing support for Infopath for the next 10 years. Note that doesn't mean continued development.
It's staying the same.
Yeah, I did confirm that just means they will continue to support it, so that those that have it and have purchased it or want to purchase it still, they will continue to support it, and it will still be in vNext of Office backward compatible, in vNext of SharePoint. It will still be usable, but it's not something they're going to move forward with for extreme development. Personally, I think that's kind of sad, because I thought it was potentially a wonderful product. It just took a little bit of, a lot of effort in some cases to get it to work like you wanted it to.
Well, just rest assured, all of your favorite bugs and glitches in Infopath are not going to go away.
They're not going to change.
Right.
And it's becoming less and less browser compatible, and definitely not very mobile compatible. So kind of keep that in mind as you use it or move to something else.
Well, and that's what we're really finding out for the mobile experiences. That's what they're pushing for this Power Apps and the Logic Apps technology. Is the Power Apps are really built for a mobile experience first.
They are. They actually don't work very well on a PC.
No, they don't.
I've tried.
We did a whole other Power Hour on Power Apps.
I mean, you can build them in a PC, but they're not meant to deliver to a regular Windows operating system. They're meant to be consumed through mobile. But I really liked, though, that even they're really taking into effect how people are starting to work more and more on the go, and they, for some reason, actually started looking at statistics about where people work. which is wonderful. The and
People
how
want
they
to
work.
look at their work on their SharePoint files somewhere when they're somewhere else.
Well, they finally read I mean, you can do anything with statistics, but typically the typical user now is not tied to a desk. In many fields, they're never tied to desks. So,
You have a question?
No, but that's a really good point. For those of you who are in there, there's a Q&A panel. Please ask some questions.
Does it say how many people are watching live?
487.
Nuh-uh.
That's the number I'm sticking to.
Usually says like 17 or something like that.
I'm sticking with 487. So it's a very popular
Well,
episode.
hundreds of people watch these things later.
Yes.
It's not that many people
Yeah.
watch them.
Right now, 22.
Okay.
we'll get tens of YouTube
You
hits.
guys ask us a question.
Well, I'm working on my professional shaky handy cam work now for the change topic. So
Travis, have you seen interesting BI stuff coming along?
I only went to one BI session, and that was actually Jason's session.
What did you learn in Jason's session?
I mean, there are changes coming to reporting services, or I guess they're kind of already there. But the biggest overarching thing that I've noticed about BI is probably kind of the separation between SharePoint and business intelligence now, whereas before things are really starting to come together a lot. Things are starting to maybe like break apart a little bit, where we've got Power BI kind of broke out of Office 365, and then all the improvements, I think, in reporting services, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, they're all on the native side, aren't they?
Sure.
I think I saw anything on the
As
native
opposed to the
side.
integrated with SharePoint stuff.
Yeah, and then you even see like Excel services kind of moving over to the new Office Web Application Server. I don't remember what it's called.
Office Online Server on-prem.
Yeah.
I would assume part of that is just that SharePoint lists and live, especially lists, are just not really made to handle the amount of data that is good for reporting against.
Well, it all depends on how much data you have, right?
Right. But like a lot of the bigger reporting and multi-year analysis and all that stuff, like you're talking hundreds of thousands of lines of stuff.
And I've never ran to like the upper limits of using a SharePoint list. I know they're there. I've just never had the opportunity to work with one, which is fine by me. There are ways around that stuff too, where you can always kind of pull it out of the list and stick it in a database and work with it. I don't know that I don't think that's why things are getting separated out though, because you can.
Is it the licensing? 'Cause I know Power BI is a separate license, so you can have
I don't know how the
SharePoint and
licensing
you pay
changed.
separately for
Did the
Power
licensing
BI.
change some? I can only imagine it did.
Power BI has
quite
always
a
been a
bit.
separate cost, right?
No. It is. There's a free version. There's the Power BI Pro is $10, but beyond that, the separation is more from an engine perspective. So keeping the source of data being SharePoint or third-party sources, whatever. It's the same reason why they moved Excel services out of SharePoint is to go put it on an engine that will do better with it and let SharePoint be more performant because it's not dealing with the same overhead. So you're dealing in integration, the whole SPA mechanism behind the scenes of being able to just integrate and pull in information to be able to be displayed rather than having to do all that churn sitting on the servers that are the same. So
Is it also like how they pulled out Office Online Server so that it cannot be on the SharePoint server so that other things can utilize it and it doesn't impact the SharePoint?
exactly.
And the workflow engine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have we heard, so I haven't had a chance to dig into that, but have we heard anything new about that whole workflow manager? and all that
SharePoint
stuff?
Designer 2013 is what's going to still be used with SharePoint 2016 is what they've announced, but Workflow Manager is the same. I think they haven't said.
We're not at release yet, so I haven't.
Yeah, rumor has it though that there will be a few in SharePoint 2016 version of it. There will be some new canned activities and such added that are actually going to add in a couple of things that we had in 2010 workflows, like looking up managers. So
Permission stuff.
the where you could do all that in 2013, but you had to actually do it. It wasn't just a canned activity. So I don't know that they're going to expand. They're just going to kind of fill in some gaps for it. They're still not going to bring back display mode. So they're still not going to be display mode as far as I know.
Someone asked me that today or yesterday about how can you just, quickly, easily be able to do conditional formatting? She said, I'm still, going to SharePoint Designer 2010 and opening a 2013 site with it just so I can have that design mode. Yeah, and
jQuery.
yeah, exactly. So so I can have the design mode, just do quick conditional formatting and be able to see what it's going to look like and all those things. And I said, well, there's a good third-party product called the Data Viewer web part by Lightning Tools that lets you do all that stuff visually, and it makes sense, and it all has rules. You don't have to be a programmer, but other than that, it's this JS link thing. I wrote a blog post about just kind of introducing it, running JavaScript and this client-side rendering thing, and that's kind of that's the way. I mean, that's the official way that you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and it actually is pretty versatile, but it does mean if you're not comfortable writing code, I mean, there's some people that don't consider writing JavaScript or jQuery or XML or anything. They don't consider that writing code, but it is.
It's code. Yeah, I consider myself kind of a power user, and I struggle to be able to figure out some of the syntax of that stuff. So
being able to do that's why I make money. I mean, honestly, it is.
Doing display templates, though, if you can figure out the pretty fairly simple HTML, JavaScript behind those, you can do conditional formatting in those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Display templates are really where I've tried to put focus on in my very limited development skills.
Yeah.
Because I can
there's
do a
a
lot
lot
of
you
things
can
with
do with
those.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can really make, using those.
If they were just a visual designer for display templates,
It would be great.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should build one
It's true.
before somebody else does.
So I have a question that's not SharePoint related, but it's just I thought it might be interesting. So I hear, do you guys know a lot about when like people say Internet of Things, what that means, and like how that relates to Microsoft? I just thought we'd talk about, because like I hear it and I kind of have like a general idea of what it means, what that terminology means, but I thought it would
what
be,
does that mean to you?
yeah,
I know-
like what do you guys?
I know Microsoft's putting a lot of focus on it.
And that
with,
essentially what would you say it is?
What is it though?
I don't know. I was just gonna say
My
Microsoft's
idea-
putting a lot of emphasis on it, and like their for the Raspberry Pi,
Yeah.
you can get an internet. It's basically an Internet of Things version of Windows 10.
I think it's essentially the idea that I have. Somebody correct us if I'm wrong out there, but the idea I think is like the Echo, Amazon Echo. Like it's like bringing the internet into your home or bringing it. Like,
Well, it's also smart electronics,
Yeah.
smart appliances, the Philips Hue light bulbs,
Yeah, LG's been doing that for
Banned.
Nest
yeah.
Nest
You're
thermostats.
banned.
Like, oh, yeah, the band.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah, being able to ask
Fitbits,
questions.
Yeah, like
Yep.
Fitbits
What's
and
it called
stuff
in,
like that.
in business intelligence where you can just have it's called a natural language query, right? Those are getting to be huge. And so
Yeah.
when I type a natural language query, of course there are people behind the scenes that are defining all that stuff and words to look for, et cetera.
Yeah.
But that's what the Amazon Echo is. It's just saying words and having the data, having the query be understood. And
Well,
Yeah.
Amazon Echo, the Cortana, Google Now, Google Now, Siri. It's all that natural language query.
Do you think that that's going to like come into so we know we are seeing it a lot with the personal side of Microsoft, so the personal devices and things like that, but do you think you're going to see that come into the business side of Microsoft
it's
at
in
all?
Excel now.
It's in
Yeah.
and yet Windows 10 has Cortana that
Yeah.
is the current version of Cortana. So if you have that on your desktop.
Yeah, but
you
how
have
does that apply at an enterprise level? Like, is there somebody up at the top level and as like a Cortana admin for what the desktops do with it? I don't think
It's all
No.
It's all just a natural built-in, like reminding you for meetings. Same thing that Google Now will do, like saying, I got a reminder the other day, you should leave now because you have something and you want to get there on time. So that's incorporating Big
Well,
Maps.
it should incorporate SharePoint search if you're
Yeah,
in an
yes.
enterprise and you're
Yep.
using SharePoint search, right?
It
Does
can.
it? Can?
It
So where do
can.
you admin that though?
What you admin it from is I don't have the stuff on my lab at home, but from what I've been reading up on it, once you have Windows 10 in your environment, then from the Windows Server side and Active Directory and SharePoint, the vNext of something or plugin, you have the ability to allow Cortana to access different aspects of your network, whether it be Link or SharePoint or Exchange, as search sources, just like it would the internet. And you can also, if you desire to, limit it to not search the internet, so that it only searches internal.
That's cool.
So you do it now. That, I mean, that takes, you know, not the Windows 10 Home, or, but, you know, in the enterprise version of it, to be able to accept that. And some of those settings are set via group policy in Active Directory. Some of those are on the different products, or they're Active Directory admin packs.
Yeah, if it's just a registry setting, then all you have to do is create an admin, you know, some commands.
So the ability to do that isn't fully documented yet, of course. So I'm just looking at, you know,
Still budding
early
technology.
release information and stuff I can torture out of devs.
But then hybrid is huge too. So now
Yeah.
that you can integrate your search across your on-prem SharePoint and your Office 365 and have one big search experience, that'll be huge to be able to have somebody just say company policies in Cortana and have it use your company's SharePoint search to give you that data that's on your intranet.
And that's
Wherever it
something
is.
they focused on this week, as well as talking about the idea of using the Office 365 experience in a hybrid that can use your on-prem environment. Not necessarily has to, it can access that for search results, for Delve, for any of the other social tools. So
Right, you don't want end users to have to go to multiple search centers or end up on multiple, you don't want them to be too.
And if they can just say, "Hey Cortana," and it just pops up with a thing on their laptop, like mine probably did now if it's not sleeping, you know, and that's a great thing. You know, "Hey Cortana, give me, you know, what is the company policy on dress code?" And it'll, you know, if it's configured right, it should pop up with the document that defines the dress code for your company. Going back to the natural language search, something that I haven't actually seen in the wild yet, but I know Microsoft is developing, is natural language BI. So you would either say or type in.
well, you're going to be out of a job.
No, but you have to have somebody that defines all that stuff.
Right. So it's one of those, like, you type or say, like, you know, just, I don't know, how many employees have left in the last 6 months? It's appropriate.
That's in Power BI.
It's called Power. It was called Power Q&A, and now it's just called Q&A.
Yeah, and that's
Q&A,
That's
like
incredible.
Q ampersand A.
that's an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
If you can just
Like,
ask
what
those
were the sales
questions.
numbers in July of 2015 or
Right.
whatever, you know, things like that.
Then, of course, if you can say, "Oh, show that to me in a pie chart."
Well, I think that's
it
the goal.
auto-charted it
Yeah.
for you.
I
Yeah.
don't like those colors. Change those colors. You know, when it gets to that abilities where
Now you're asking too much. Changing colors. Give me complex data. Fine. Change colors. Now you're asking too much, man. Come on.
you know, it will likely get to that kind of point where the natural language is not only going to allow you to pull numbers, but actually let you determine how it's displayed, or who it's sent to, who it's displayed to. And I think that's very exciting. I think, you know, I joked about, putting Tavis out the job, but you're right. I mean, there's still going to be people that have to get that data in a usable or a consumable
And
way.
define what words people say that
Yeah.
translate to what in the data.
And I mean, there is some work to be done there. You have to do some configuring to make it work out right. I played with it a little bit, but also, just from my perspective in job security, they're always going to want to see it a different way.
Yeah,
And they're always going to want to print it.
There's always going to be messy data that you got to make sense of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always.
But I always said my job is to work myself out of a job, so they're doing it for me, I guess. I'm halfway there.
I'm fine as long as people have problems.
Oh,
And they always will.
yeah.
So
You've got a problem though. You need to find a job. That's your problem. You can just focus on our problems.
I'm trying to find y'all. I'm not trying to find Laura or Joelle jobs, but I am trying to get everybody else employed too.
Awesome. What other kind of themes have we seen? A lot of hybrid stuff. A lot of yes.
Question. So I sat in Jennifer Mason's class or session, and she talked about the planner. So what do you guys think about the planner? That seems like a pretty cool little
Yeah, okay,
addition.
so what's the plan? The planner is sort of like light project management, kind of like the idea of what you do in Microsoft Project, but, you know, a little more simplified. It's got, you know, assigning tasks to people, having projects, having statuses. My problem with Planner is that it's completely separate from SharePoint. It's not integrated. It's not SharePoint task list. It's a whole separate little button that you go to in the waffle in Office 365, and it's a separate thing. So that was kind of one of my problems with Access, when Access Services 2013 came out. They made it cool, do a lot of things. You can quickly create apps with it, but it's all separate, often its own different database, not integrated with SharePoint, not automatically just searchable by SharePoint, and kind of buried in another place. So Planner is cool. It's very sleek. It's very pretty and modern in the way you can interact with it and drag things around and to manage your projects. But yeah, I don't know, hopefully they get the integration. You have something to say?
Yeah, and I mean, because as the great thing about Office 365, as I've learned and read many times, is that it's changing, literally changes every day. Like little additions, little features, add-ons. So that could be something that it just gets rolled out, and
Yeah.
you know, the integration piece will
Yeah,
be there.
hopefully they're working on that. Right?
Yeah, at least the search at the very least, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there's it's crawling that content at the very least.
Absolutely. And there is, if you guys, whoever's on Office 365 that's watching this, there's an Office 365 network in Yammer that anyone can join, and it's a really big just community that you can go in there. There are probably 100 different categories of little groups that you can join. You can go in, it's like a forum, you can ask questions, you can go respond to questions. There's going to be a group in there called Planner, there's going to be a group in there called Dev, there's going to be an IT Pro group. So to find it, and they also release information about things that have just come out and things that are upcoming, and they have this list of all the changes that happen that they put in places like that. So also in your Office 365 admin, there's an app to admin Office 365. Inside of there is a list of changes that have just been implemented, changes that are coming out, and the dates, etc. right there inside of the Office. So even if you don't actually do anything with Office 365 admin, you don't admin it from your phone, that's a good place to real quickly go and just see what's upcoming and see what's just been added in a nice little list there. And links.
I'm sorry, did you say there's a big community on Yammer? I didn't know that.
High number of subscribers to a Yammer network.
I do recall her saying those words.
That's very confusing to me.
A lot of Office 365 customers that I've talked to didn't necessarily know that it exists, and so they didn't know where to go for just general conversations about that kind of thing. So it's good to know. I mean, it's good to be. You go join it and you go find out what groups you want, of things you're interested in, and then you get little updates in your email, etc.
Microsoft has gone very back and forth on Yammer as far as we're going to use Yammer and we're going to push Yammer, we're not going to push Yammer, we're going to push Yammer. So now they're actually going to be for Office 365, they're going to be turning on Yammer automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So that you don't have to pay extra for it now.
Well,
You don't have to go
Part of your tenant. It's a part for everybody who has it as a part of their subscription. They're just turning it on by default.
Yeah.
As opposed to the little built-in newsfeed that used to be.
But
turned
still
on.
there as well.
It's still there, but it's not like Yammer is the default social thing.
But
Right.
you could still use the newsfeed. So like, when would you use one over the
Then
other?
you
I
have to
guess.
decide. That's one of the things they've also been doing. That Yammer's also, they've been trying to really like the success. I think it's success.office.com is where they're doing all this fast tracking. And they also have a lot of things they've been doing around user adoption for Yammer, specific scenarios like, why would I use Yammer? How would I use Yammer? What situation would I need to use Yammer in? And so they're going through very specific reasons, because they've realized that just putting Yammer out there doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to flock to it. They just think of just any general business user. They need to know how it applies to them and why they would want to go there and what they would do in there.
And what can it do for them to help them be more productive or make more money?
Well, and especially for admins, why they should let people use it.
What were you going to say?
I wasn't. That was me biting my tongue.
Well,
Were you going to say something?
so I guess I was looking more at the profile aspect of it, because the profile where you edit your profile then gets pushed to Delve. So
Which is search, really.
yeah, so if you don't use the newsfeed, you're still going to have to use the newsfeed to edit your profile, correct? Because Yammer's not going to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yammer's still kind of a separate website.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they've been trying very hard over the years to, ever since they announced that Microsoft bought Yammer, to make it so that you don't, click Yammer and end up in a completely different web page that's unrelated to where you were in Office 365. So they've been gradually like making it more integrated and more kind of obvious and natural as to what you're doing, but they're still.
It's a slow process,
Still
but they
working.
usually get there eventually with the technologies that they bring into Office 365.
You can't turn the Titanic on a dime.
No, we learned that the hard way.
Golly, a Titanic and a Yammer reference all in one. I think you just filled out my bingo card for me. Thanks, bud.
Anytime, anything to help. I'm here to solve your problems.
There you go.
Yeah, someone's told us that we should do a SharePoint Power Hour on Yammer.
I have something else to do today.
I don't think I know enough about Yammer.
No, I actually don't think I've used it, and I've implemented it for some people, but I haven't used it with a reason.
It's good for threaded conversations. So instead of a conversation just happening among team members, just buried in email in everybody's inboxes, it's a place where you can have a conversation and even be able to throw other people into it later, and then still be able to catch up as to what transpired in that conversation.
Do we use that in Rackspace?
No.
No, we're not supposed to.
We're not
Okay.
supposed to.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
But
The one good thing that I've heard, because I was listening to Ben Nyland talk from ShareGate, they actually use it as an external forums to interact with their customers, and rather than having a separate forums product, just using that which they have as a part of their Office 365 tenant.
Oh, see, and that actually kind of answers the next question that I was going to ask, is because everything, Laura, that you just described could be accomplished with Skype for Business. So then my next question was, why use Yammer over Skype for Business?
well, Skype for
Persistence.
Business, the conversation just happens, and then you can't goes away. And then if you add somebody later, they don't see the whole conversation that happened before.
Yeah.
And then if someone turns off the computer, there's not really a way to get back into the conversation. So it is kind of just its own little conversation. It's not like in a place where people can go to it later.
It's more chat,
We
not
started
discussion. Not
Yeah.
discussion thread.
Not like building a knowledge base or something like
Yeah.
that is really what Yammer is, what people want to use Yammer for.
We started using Slack a lot for that, just amongst ourselves,
Yeah.
just for conversations and being silly or.
Well, and there were
Giphies. I mean, how could you live without Giphies?
Well, there were a lot of rumors for a while that Microsoft was thinking about buying Slack, but then Slack decided that they were very, very expensive. So that's not going to
Oh,
happen.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that one.
Hostile.
Because Yammer was cheap. I'm just saying.
Well,
Well, they also wanted to buy Yahoo again, and Yahoo said no, and now Yahoo is not really expensive anymore.
well, Yahoo isn't much of anything, but
Speculation, by the way, we were just.
Yeah, we
Not
talk a
sure.
lot.
Yeah.
We talk a lot, or I do.
can confirm.
Yeah, so let's see, what other topics can we talk about?
Scuba's going.
How about more of the unified look and feel they're trying to implement across the business suites and products and the consumer products.
Oh yeah.
Even SharePoint 2016. I didn't realize that there was, because I haven't played with it much, that it also has the wall hole. So or the app launcher, whatever you want to call it. So it looks just like Office 365. So they're making it easier, correct?
Yes, yes.
Something like
And
that.
so, you get this concept of tiles. You got tiles on your, on your Windows phone. You've got tiles in the promoted links list, and you've got in Windows 10. And so that sort of look of tiles is just one of the things that they've made common across all applications. And then another thing is being, when you're editing files, because that's what users want to do. They just want to do their job. They just want to work on the files and work on the things they need to do. When you're editing files, they've made Office web apps more and more similar to what you're going to see in the client programs.
Yeah.
They're working harder and harder to make that mobile experience of being able to edit files more natural and make sense to you and be more familiar. And they're also just the concept of being able to say, all right, I need to work on such and such file. How to just quickly get to it, and how to get to it no matter where you are. Like, I noticed that I've got Windows 10 on a couple of different computers, and I go work on a certain Word document on one of them. I open up the other computer and log in, and it actually shows that same file as my recent files. So that's huge. I can just quickly, I don't have to go start all over and find it again and remember where it was.
Well, on that,
And on my phone, it'll show there as well.
on that, one thing they showed was that the goal there is that in SharePoint 2016, Office 2016, which looks very much like SharePoint 2016's interface, the idea that instead of downloading a file that's in a document library and attaching it or sending a link that somebody's going to download the file, the idea is that you just from your Outlook go, I want to attach this file just like always, but what it does, it sends a live link that you can, from within your email message, set who you want to share it with. You basically, you set security on who you're sharing it with, and
how much they can do with
and
it.
how much they can do with it. And the recipients of, you know, when you 6,000 people, they're not getting attachments. They're getting a live link to that location.
That's huge.
And then you edit it, you open it, you actually edit it in kind of what maybe a client-side rendering of that document that's still stored. You don't actually download that document anymore in that
In a
scenario.
central place for everyone.
So there's only, as I like to call it, one version of the truth ever. And you're doing it live, no matter what's your device, whether it be mobile, tablet, you know, iPad, or
Office,
PC.
OA, I mean, Outlook Web Access.
Yeah, or Office Web Access or whatever. Or if you want to say, okay, now let's all collaborate on this, and you change things live, and if multiple people want to do editing on different sections of the same document at the same time and show it to each other, you have true collaboration.
And now they made it so you can actually see visually as they're typing. You can see what other people are doing in there, as opposed to having to hit the refresh button like it's always been with the live co-authoring. It is actually live. It is truly live. And
That's
this
very
concept of being able to get people out of their email, out of being buried in their email and sending attachments back and forth and putting it in SharePoint has just been one that I've been trying to promote over the years, but it's never been like a smooth thing that exists in the product. Like 8 years ago or so, Quest Software, I don't know if y'all remember that, they had a little add-in that was a little Office add-in that you could put in Outlook that every end user would have to install, I think.
Yeah.
But it would, every time you went to attach an attachment, it would say, don't you want to put this in SharePoint? And it would prompt you, and you could put it in a library and share it there. And then, since then, Harmony is another company that's put a lot of just working in SharePoint right there in front of you inside of Outlook. They have like a little panel of all of your SharePoint information, and you can drag things back and forth between your email and SharePoint. So they made it a lot more natural. So Microsoft's like finally, they finally put it together, and they're making it so that it's right there in the email. It's natural. You're editing it right there in the email, and you're just collaborating on it. And you don't have all these versions floating around. It's just one version.
One thing I noticed in Office 2016, especially Outlook 2016, but also the other, Word or Excel, and I'm not running 2016 or SharePoint in home environment, but the Office 2016 suite actually detects that I have that the domain account that I logged into my PC with has access to a SharePoint location, and when I want to call up files, it will see not only the recent files on the computer, but if I've recently opened up a SharePoint stored location, or if that SharePoint location is accessible for me to save.
Yeah.
And automatically prompt me with a possible list of locations that include SharePoint. And that's still 2013.
Yep.
Nice.
So
We have a question?
We do. So Carlos says,
hi, Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
Hope you enjoyed the conference.
I haven't had a chance to take a look at SharePoint 2016. What new features are coming that look exciting?
That's mostly going to be it's mostly going to be on the server side with the performance and the way the server itself runs. And we have this new thing called min role, where you've always had the ability to assign different roles to different servers, but now it's highly encouraging you to make sure you have when you set your farm up, that you give different servers different roles. Is it forcing you to do that, or is it?
Yeah.
yeah, I don't,
It's in the installation, the configuration wizard that you choose what role the server is going to be doing, so that you don't have to remember, you don't have to do a lot of research to determine exactly what pieces to turn on
What
or
settings.
not to turn on to, so you don't have to build a super jumbo deluxe machine, because it's going to be, you know, having to have all these resources, because you have to run everything. So that the role-based installation is going to be pretty powerful from a business point of view, because you say, well, this is going to be an app server. It's not going to turn on maybe the web front-end delivery pieces, but it'll turn, you know, automatically install the pieces that are number crunching heavy. Or if you say this is only going to be web front-end delivery, then it'll turn on all the nice nifty neato things to make users happy, but not turn on those heavy resource things like Excel calculation services and that kind of thing. So that I think is powerful for business. But what I found is interesting is they're making an effort in 2016 to make security configuration much more friendly
on the server?
on for sites and servers.
Oh,
They're promoting. They've always promoted the idea that everything should be Active Directory first, but it's seems to be a lot more seamless to okay, user profile synchronization is getting better. If you don't find that exciting, then, you know, by better I mean it works. No, I mean we can always make it work, but sometimes it's a chore. But the visibility into, you know, the AD security and the explanation of what security does, and the ability to customize the security settings for different users or groups of users, and assign those, and assign the ability to assign security is supposed to be a lot easier from what I see.
speaking of that, during our keynote at the beginning of the week, Microsoft mentioned that, so this whole concept of groups that came out a couple of years ago, where people could have just ad hoc groups of people and be able to collaborate on files and have meetings and messages and things like that. And there's been that, and then there's been team sites, and then they found that users were confused as to in what situations you would build a team site versus a group, or team sites going away, are we supposed to only use groups now? And so there was a lot of confusion around that. So they're just going to make them one thing and make them just do all of, you know, kind of what both of those things do. So it'll be a team site, it'll be a group, it'll be all integrated together and less confusing. So I think that's huge. I'm really happy about that one. Yeah. If we don't have anything else, we don't have to like fill up the entire hour, but yeah. What else in 2016 is new besides like on the server?
Well, they are, you know, going to maintain backward compatibility with 2013. So just like 2013 was backward compatible to 2010, but 2016 will not be backward compatible to 2010.
What do you mean by compatible?
Meaning
like
that, like in 2013, you could migrate a 2010 site into 2013. If you did an in-place upgrade, you could maintain those 2010 sites can stay exactly as they were, operate exactly as they always did, while in a 2013 farm. So the difference was look and feel and feature capability, and like that model, 2016 will be backward compatible to 2013 sites. So if you do in-place upgrades or migrate a 2013 site into that environment, that will still function.
I've got a question.
Yeah. So Luis asks, what about the app model on 2016? Have any changes?
I don't know about that stuff.
There's still going to be an app model, but they're also going to, and that's not going away. As far as I know, it's not going to change. But the ability to have the full trust code and supported more so by the Microsoft effort and such, that's they're actually even looking at a way to allow, I don't know how they're going to do it, full trust code in their multi-tenant Office 365 environment. That's the rumors I'm hearing.
That's what people want. What, Jason?
But
Oh, that's anything.
I don't like your,
I don't know how they. I don't know how they're going to accomplish it,
Jason has skeptical.
but that's the talk. Whether it
Developers
goes
still
forward.
want to be able to develop, whether it's
Yeah.
in on-prem or Office 365.
Yeah.
So they're moving towards being able to allow them to do that.
And I don't remember what they're calling it, but they've got another app model-esque pipeline to code delivery in SharePoint, but I don't remember what it's called.
Do you, Jason?
Is there, I mean, it's kind of the idea with Power Apps though, right? Isn't it?
That's well, Power Apps is the other one that they're actually going to be. Here, use this too.
Yeah, I
we're
mean, the
we're
idea
cool
of
with it.
Power Apps is really for
That's it.
Office 365 essentially. It's for that.
Yeah.
So that developers can write things.
Well, and even
That's what I-
non-developers for Power Apps.
Well,
Sort
Sure.
that's,
Sort of.
you know, that's to be decided.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, you know, the feature, what do you call it? Feature parity between Office 365 and on-prem. There was with the 2013 version, there became a pretty good gap. What I heard this week was that they're going to make an effort to reduce the size of that gap for 2016, so that feature parity will be less of an issue, and potential upgrades will be offered to on-prem licensees much more often than in 2013.
I was going to say, because even at RTM, you know, on RTM day, Office 2016, or SharePoint 2016 and Office 365 might look exactly the same,
Mhm.
but the day afterwards,
Yeah.
it might not, you know.
Well, you know,
That'll be
anything can
interesting
change.
for my training class.
Yeah.
yeah, but just that, you know, there became a huge gap, you know, and a huge lag time for on-prem users between when the feature was available in Office 365 and when or if even it was available on-prem. And what I heard this week was they're going to make a big effort to make that less of a gap.
Well, one thing that Microsoft is realizing too is that as much as they were pushing Office 365 and, you know, full cloud, they're realizing that their customers, some of them, it doesn't matter, they're staying on-prem or they're going hybrid. So like,
Yeah.
you know, they're realizing that they need to accommodate those people too, because they're not going away. You know, it's kind of like with Windows 8, they were like, everyone's going to touch everything. And then nobody installed it because nobody wanted to touch anything. So, you know.
Well, and
Oh, the
touch-
screens?
Yeah.
well, and touch screens, you know, we're at a price point that make a lot of sense for that.
Right. Well, we're now finally getting to the point where, you know, touchscreens are a viable, affordable solution, and people are being more adoptive of them. But you know, Microsoft kind of looked
They were a little
back at
ahead.
it. Right. They looked at it and they were like, okay, well, let's backtrack this a little bit. They didn't say that, but you know, bring back the start menu, and
Well,
we'll have touch, but we'll also allow for the traditional.
I don't think
there's a
they
question.
backtracked.
Yep.
Uh,
So Lee asks, are the old power hours going to remain on YouTube for reference, or will Rackspace be taking them down? That's question one.
We don't know.
No,
I-
I'm downloading a backup copy to my hard drive just in case, but I don't think Rackspace.
No,
will do that.
Rackspace is not planning on taking them down. This is out here for the good of the community. You guys have done too much work. That's not going anywhere.
Personally, on my Wonder Laura site, if you guys are interested in follow me, figure out what I'm going to do next in my new company, everything. I put a little link on the homepage that says "Stay in touch," and it's just a little subscribing to a mailing list for people that are interested in whatever my training is that I'm going to do other than Rackspace and stuff like that.
Of course, you can always follow her on Twitter.
Yes.
And then, so that was Lee. Jeremy asks, multitasking here, so I'm not sure if I missed it, but 2016 won't include a Foundations version.
That's correct. And I've noticed one thing, the document information panel is now gone in Office 2016. It's a little interesting. You can get to it by going to by going to the backstage view and going to the properties, like a little property screen, but it's a couple of extra clicks. So there won't be an actual panel at the top of your documents. It's another just.
And that
That's
might be
more
for the
Office.
best though, because it's that being
It was a little clunky.
Lord. Oh
It's also, if you go into just Windows Explorer, it actually shows up there
Yeah.
as well.
Properties.
Yeah.
The backstage view is where you can edit it.
You can
and
edit it
actually
there, yeah.
Works a lot. It's more seamless in that view. I've noticed than like if you're dealing with managed metadata and stuff, and we're working with definitely.
So change is coming.
Yes.
Change doesn't necessarily have to be bad.
Change.
This is IT.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Change,
The only constant.
change happens.
The only constant is change.
It's true. Deep.
There's
Like Jack Candy. You guys ever seen that?
Yes.
deep thoughts
Thoughts
with
like-
Wonderlaw.
Like Corey. Well, I think that's it. Yeah.
Extension Honolulu is a good book by Jack Henry.
Yeah. We'll all, follow
Go
our
to
blog
Hawaii.
sites. I wrote the most recent blog post I wrote on my wonderbar.com site. I listed all of y'all's names, your Twitter accounts, and your blog sites and stuff like that. So y'all follow everybody, and we'll individually keep you guys posted as to what the heck we're doing, and Power Hour and stuff like that. But, yeah.
We're still here for you. Just not here.
Yeah.
Luis has a question that I don't think I want to actually say out loud because it's about branding. But what about branding? Will SharePoint be responsive someday?
It will.
I know a guy.
We know a guy.
I think the answer is yes. We're just out of the box. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing, just quickly, if you can believe it from me. That
Believe it when you see it.
SharePoint 2016 will be much more mobile friendly. I don't know that it's going to be, at least in the release candidate, it's not truly responsive, but they make a much better effort.
yeah, I know a lot of branding people that make it responsive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One of our team, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan's not
That's
good,
his
yeah.
thing.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Over and out. Final Power Hour.
Group hug.
Yeah. So you can click stop broadcast.
I'm on it.